This is the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show.
Guys, I don't care if your name is Ken, Ben, or Glenn. All the men. It's fucking week 10. Let's go.
Well, I've got a big paintbrush, if you know what I mean.
That sounds like a waterbed.
Aussie?
I'm always going to have a soft spot for Darren Waller.
I love it.
Justin Jefferson or Thomas Jefferson? Oh, I'm not sure.
NFL?
You will not find another podcast on this island who are more pro Flacco than us boys.
Yeah, and that's pretty much the verbiage we give each other.
Fantasy.
The thing about a buy low is you need people to not think that it's a good decision.
I've only just made the connection now that Gotham is New York.
This is the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show.
Tage, you want to describe who won the segment and how wonderful their team is?
Brother, eat my own ass.
Australia's premier NFL fantasy football show is back for the Sunday show. You're listening to the Aussie Gridiron Network, and this is the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show. They call me Matty C, and joining me tonight is Calvin Ridley, apologist. It's Taylor Goodall. How are you, mate?
Yeah, mate, still thinking about Whale Cup. Just can't get it out of my brain. But look, can't wait to, talk about some players that aren't Calvin Ridley with our boy Brad.
You've come in hot, and now Brad's got to follow that. I'm so sorry, Brad. He shouldn't do that to you. Welcome back, mate.
That's okay. That's all. It's perfectly fine. I look forward to it. That's why you guys are the best in the little island that we like to call Australia. So I am well, and we're talking football, so nothing can be worse than that. Or better. Sorry.
Nothing could be worse than having to follow Taylor after he starts it. But look, for everyone who didn't catch the Friday show, you're doing yourself a disservice. Go back and catch that with Brad. We did some buy lows and sell highs. We entered into the mailbag as well. We had a great time. It's been a wild Friday show, and we're back today to do things a little differently. We're going to introduce Taylor Talk now ahead of doing our famous Start of the Week segment, and we'll give a big update on that as that rolls in. But I'm pretty fired up. Fridays, it was a big show, and we got through a lot of information. Hopefully, some folks have had a chance to take that information and do with it as they please to try and improve their rosters. But Sunday, mate, it's all about Taylor Talk, and it's all about the starts of the week. Tay, I'm going to throw your drop in now. TALOR. Taylor Talk time. That's right. Hot diggity dog.
Yeah, mate. I always want to try and make this a short, sharp segment, just like my love life. But I definitely do tonight. Definitely do tonight because we've got to get into starts of the week, mate. It means everything to me this week. But look, I'll touch base quickly on what I did at Taylor Talk last week. So
yeah.
I've seen Arnold up against the Colts, who were 21st against the quarterback position. He ended up with 21 points. So pretty happy with that. Definitely put a tick next to that one. Taking someone sort of either off the waiver wire or someone that's a bit of an iffy start, well less than 50% of leagues. So to get 21 points out of Darnold, I was actually pretty happy with that one.
Taylor nailed.
Yeah, and I mean, just nailed it, right? We knew that he was going to have the opportunity to throw the ball around a little bit. It was just a matter of could the Colts keep up. They did, which is fun.
Absolutely. My next one, I've taken this guy a couple of times now, but I just wanted to sort of bring up that I thought Tyler Algier against that Cowboys 26 against running back defense, was a guy that you didn't have to play, but someone that in a pinch, I thought there was a good opportunity for a good matchup there. Look, in the end, he was very much saved by a touchdown. He ended up 7.8 points, which I very much just put as a meh. He was 6 for 18 on the ground, which is obviously horrendous. But to get a touchdown, for a spot start is something that you'd be pretty happy with. But, 7.8, I'm not exactly going to be gloating about that one.
Taylor failed.
Nah, you're like, catch me a ball or two, bro. Come on, bail me out. But just not this time. But what do you do? Especially after there was the injury to Dak, it changed the game a bit.
Yeah, and look, wide receiver. Do we have to talk about this guy again? Courtney Ward's boy, Cortland Sutton. A guy that I felt like the need to take him just to rule him out of starts of the week for Matty C. Up against the Ravens, who were last against the wide receiver position. 23.3 fantasy points. So, I would say wide receiver 6 in this segment. Not a bad call.
Taylor nailed.
And tell me how he did it, Tay. Tell me how he did it.
No. I'm moving on.
No. There was all that beautiful receiving work, which we were talking about, but he throws a fucking touchdown.
Oh, he threw a bloody touchdown. Unbelievable. What was hilarious too was I was watching Bo Nix, and I'm like, oh, yeah, no, he's not doing too much. And then I realised he'd fucking caught a touchdown. And like, in the standard league, you actually get more than that than if he'd fucking passed one in, because you get to see for catching it, so it's just unbelievable.
And mate, some weeks I would have been happy with Cortland Sutton getting 4+ yardage for a passing touchdown if he did nothing else, because he's had weeks where he's been 0 targets. So, I mean, come on. Plus all the receiving. Go Cortland.
Taylor nailed.
Yeah, absolutely dominated. This last one was definitely one that I was sort of taking a bit of a risk on. I decided to say Hawkinson in his first game back against the Colts, sort of stacked that bitch up with Darnold. 27th against tight end position. The tight end position, he was started like 10% of leagues or something, so no one really had a lot of, thought process. I was sort of
low confidence.
He had a few targets early. He ended up on 5.7 points, which isn't horrendous in the tight end position. But, yeah, it was clear that they were sort of using guys like Oliver a bit more. They weren't sort of keen to sort of give him a full workload. And I just took the shot that he might have had a big play still. And, 5.7 points, again, not something I'm riding home about, but not something I'm, feeling bad about either.
Taylor failed.
Did I see fucking Johnny Munt out there catching balls?
Yeah, he was involved too. I do feel like that's going to get scaled back each week that we see.
Yeah.
I do think Hawkinson's a good player to have moving forward, because I just feel like, the concerns about Darnold at quarterback, just aren't as, prevalent.
No, they're gone.
So,
to your point too, I think Josh Oliver and Johnny Munt, they're placeholders, and just let them have a bit while we scale Hawk up a bit. That's fine, but come week 14, 15, it's going to be the Hawk show, right?
Absolutely. All right, matey, we look forward to next week. And so I've had a gimmick once where I decided to pick 3 guys from the same game, and it happened to be the overseas game. Well, I've got one better. I've picked everyone from the same game, and it's all the overseas game.
Oh, Jesus.
It wasn't a plan. It wasn't honestly a plan. It just somehow I ended up with about 3 out of the 4, and I went, you know what? I'm fucking forcing the 4th one in. When I say forcing, I do like the matchup. I'm not going to be bringing some guy and just like doing it for the sake of it. I do like the matchups for especially one team. So I've decided to basically make Taylor talk all one game.
I've got a feeling which team you like and which team the matchup is against that you love ganging up on. But thunder not to be stolen, Tay. All yours.
Do you know what's weird too? I've kind of realised that it's literally all one team. I haven't taken bits and pieces of either side. I've actually taken one team.
What?
Realise that. So I've got a full Giants team. So I've gone fucking nuts here.
Oh, my God.
Danny Dimes against Carolina, 29th against the quarterback position. Again, I said this at Bo Nix 2 weeks ago. It doesn't really matter, especially the fact that Dimes can use his legs a bit. Carolina just can't defend anything. Well, I know, they won a game last week. They looked a bit better on offense. That, if anything, just helps the other team in fantasy. So, Dimes, look, don't want to start him in many matchups. I'm saying that this is a matchup you can. So, let's move on from him. This one is one that he was at 48% started when I wrote this. I think he's probably gone over the 50%, so he's probably one you're not going to worry about. I mean, all these guys are probably ones you weren't going to take at the start of the week anyway. But I'm saying that Ty Tracy against Carolina is going to have a massive game. They're last against the running back position. You've seen straight away, off obviously the scare with the concussion, he's just a dude. They're not using Singletary. Singletary is just a fucking backup piece to this guy.
Yeah, Zero Terry.
Yeah, exactly. Your boy Zero Terry. I just think Tracy's in for a massive game here, and like I said, I not only think you can start him with confidence, I think he's going to be a top 10 play this week.
Oh my God, top 10? Top 10?
Top 10.
Wow.
Oh my God. That's big. That's really big.
And look, boys, I'm obviously stacking that bitch up twice with Dimes, because I'm taking Darius Slayton. Now, this one is very, obviously, he's in the concussion protocol, so this is one that you're going to have to watch. I just really like the situation for him. Carolina, Now, they are 16th against wide receiver, so this is technically their best position at defending, but I don't think they have a best position. I think it's just whatever gets left.
Why chuck on them when you're ahead?
I brought up with you last week that I'm not really liking Wandale Robinson, his usage for fantasy at the moment. I think Slate's getting far better targets from Danny Dimes. So, obviously, you're not going to take neighbours in a segment like this, but I think a guy like Darius Slate is the kind of guy you can plug and play this week with big plays. So, yeah, I just think that they're going to be able to do anything they want against this Carolina team this week. Kev is going to love me, but he's going to hate me, but he's not going to be able to put him in his fucking starts of the week team.
Oh, Kev.
I'm taking Theo Johnson, baby. Theo Johnson. I'm against Carolina, who, you guessed it, are last against the tight end position. I've got a full Giants team. I've gone fucking batshit crazy. Let's get the starts of the week. I just want to get there.
Can I get a top 10 on Theo Johnson?
I didn't say a top anything. I just said that fucking Carolina was last against tight end. But
That's why I'm asking for it. Can I get one?
Go.
Can I get a touchdown guarantee? Can I get something?
You know what? You know what? Touchdown guarantee, Steph. Let's do it. You talk me into it.
I just need a little something. I mean, I'm all over it. I actually had him in my starts list, which is I was about to mention it when we got there to make Kev proud of me. But I love that not only have you just gone and lent into it, but I managed to bully you into just giving us a little bit extra.
The best. It's even more hilarious that for whatever reason I didn't even realise I picked everyone for the same team until I actually got here in the moment. And honestly, if you're going to pick everyone for the same team, yeah, I wouldn't suggest be the Giants, but I would suggest it against Carolina. So there's a reason why these guys are in this segment, because they're in a team that not a lot of fantasy guys have trust in them week to week, so it's obviously going to be guys that are iffy, which is what this segment is. So I'm taking iffy guys
when they're iffy,
but in a great matchup. So that's really what this is all about.
And they'll be munching in Munchen.
Yeah.
Eating away in Munich over there. I can remember just by the time like week 2 or 3 rolled around, how it's like, wow, there's going to be another world war where Germany realizes what America's sending them. But actually now I've got some positivity, because actually I don't mind the Giants. They're a bit of fun. They keep games interesting before they lose it. And now all of a sudden Carolina got a win last week, and Bryce Young looks like he's growing up, and that's kind of fun. So maybe they'll get a better game than we thought.
Maybe. Then Taylor Talk dominate.
Don't count on it. Don't count on it.
Let's see what moving to the over to the European continent does for this game. Wow, all Giants all day, 24/7, 365. Tay is all about the Giants, mate. I was not expecting that. It's amazing.
I've lost my goddamn mind.
In the beginning, there was nothing, a featureless void. From the formless primordial state, a legend was born when forces combined to create a solid object of significant value. As planets were formed and Earth itself was shaped, the object lay awaiting its destiny. Seas rise and fall, mountains emerge, and upon the highest mountain, an intrepid adventurer happens upon the object. A worthy prize for ascending this to the tallest of peaks. This object has been documented to be held by many of the great dynasties of mankind, from the Persians to the Hans, the Mongols and the Ottomans, lives lost defending it from those who seek to possess it. Now it is in the trust of 3 wise men who also reach such pinnacles, to be held by he who imparts the most astute knowledge upon fellow mankind. The winner of the annual Aussie NFL Fantasy Show Starts of the Week.
And after that crazy Taylor talk, we're here for Starts of the Week. Brad, this is not your first rodeo with the starts segment, because we've done this before with the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show GDAY GRIDIRON like mashup at the end of last year, and you fucking walked away with the cup at the end of that, like that 4-week tournament.
I can't complain. You know, it's just every now and then I get something right. So I'm happy to take a victory when I can, and
respect.
And call it good. So I just appreciate the opportunity to be here and talk football. So yeah, thank you.
I'm super, super impressed with you because, as I've discovered too over time, and I don't know if Taylor's realised this, but the bigger the field gets in these games, the harder he finds it. When it's just bashing up on Manjot and I for a couple of years, he's like, oh, yeah, it was just head to head against me. He's like, oh, yeah. But when he got out to like 4 and 5 people, when we do these like, bigger contests, or in the third head is a revolving chair, mate, he's all at 6s and 7s and he doesn't know what he's doing. So, and then we bring in someone with the pedigree of you, right, with this recent championship. Well, I think Taylor should be shitting himself a bit.
You say that, but we haven't made our picks yet. So.
I mean, I feel pretty good about it, mate. Let's be honest.
Let's see.
Do you know that I say this every week against Taylor too, is like, okay, it's you and me versus Taylor, right? We need to work together.
Right. I like it.
I think the wordage is boxing me out from a rebound.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing.
It's 2 average sized blokes trying to box out a fringe NBL player for actual rebounds, but we can do this. We can do this.
Oh, absolutely. You take them low, I'll take them high. Are we talking about boxing them out or something else? What are we?
Mate, that sounds like the Taylor Talk After Dark podcast, but we're up for that later on.
Sorry.
Just a quick reminder, Giants apparently off limits.
Plenty of Giants in there. And I'm not just talking about height.
Yeah, let me give a quick recap. Last week, this segment went really, really well for Taylor. He, the three of us, like between our super guest and Taylor and I, we all managed scores of less than 40 because we're fucking geniuses at this apparently. But I have a photo next to my bed, and it's usually of my family, but now it is no longer.
It's a scorecard.
Yeah, mate, because and now it's going to get replaced by the Astro League table because I'm currently first seed in that. Okay, so Matty C with a little bit of a break. 409 points, a gentleman's 409, but 21 competition points. The world in a tussle with Taylor. World 17 points, Taylor 16 points, and those two in aggregate much closer. World 420, Taylor still with the most points in the comp, 430. So it's kind of like a half a win when you got more points than everyone else, isn't it, Tay? It's like having an extra half point up your sleeve.
Well, I think it's worth about, 7 competition points, actually. But anyway.
Yeah. I like how you were streets ahead for a while there. It's all sort of peeled back a little bit, and we're evening it out. But, Brad, your position here is to make it uncomfortable for Tay. I'm going to give you the first pick. I think that's the right thing to do. I'm going to give you the first pick. I'm going to put Taylor in second, and I'm going to take up the third spot. And the strategy here is, if there is somebody who you think is streets ahead at one of the positions, you take them. Taylor just then has to live with being rattled and working out what's next. And then I get a double pick. Tay is still rattled. He gets the fifth pick, and then you're back for a double pick again.
I'm rattled.
Taylor always rattled, flustered, mate. That's the strategy, Brad. We've got this.
I love it. All right, and we're taking quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end in any order.
Yes.
In any order. I'm going to start the clock right there, and then goes the chime. So, with that knowledge and knowing that, as long as it's not a giant, apparently, as long as they start in less than 50% of leagues, have a swing, and it'll just be, let's be wary of players coming off a bye as well, because some of them will have artificially low numbers. But, some of them will be fair, and some of them we might just have a chat about. But where do you want to go with the weight of having the first pick and trying to keep the world ahead of Taylor?
Heavy is the head that wears the crown. I am, let's see. So
look at the trophy. Look at the trophy.
Oh, there we go.
You can do this.
There we go. I don't want to ask where that trophy's been, but
it's about to go to Queensland, so it hasn't been anywhere worse than that.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. Yeah. Let's see. So I'm assuming like a player like Christian McCaffrey would be off the board.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. Because obviously he started less than 50%, but we all know that he's a baller.
He's a slam dunk.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So with that said, I'm going with I don't like the pick per se, but it's a position of need, I think, in terms of just looking at the depth of this position. I just didn't like the depth at all, so I wanted to make sure I got somebody. I am going with my very own Rico Dowdle.
Yeah, good man.
He is coming off a couple good games, and they finally got a little bit of rhythm, a little bit at least, with their running game. And so I think if they can keep servicing that. Now they've got a tough matchup this week against the Eagles, like the Cowboys do. Fine. But if they can commit to the run, and which I think they will, because you got Cooper Rush coming in, so they're going to try and play a ball control game. This is what happened last time when the Cooper Rush was in. They really want to have a balanced attack and even stress on the run, and maybe a little too much. So I'm hoping and Zeke is, he's probably still late to the team bus or whatever, so he'll be suspended. But I'm hoping they just feed the rock to Rico. So go Rico Daddle.
Brad, I don't know if you knew, but 2 weeks ago I talked up Rico Dowdle and took him in this segment, and he ended up sick 2 hours before the game, and I've never been more on tilt my entire life.
He was so angry.
It was more that I've just never ever seen a player just turn questionable, like after being absolutely fine the entire week, like 2 hours before a game. It wasn't even like the last update. It was just like all of a sudden this guy's questionable. I'm like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
About what actually had happened, and then you're like, well, I know if he's all of a sudden questionable, he's not playing. Like, they wouldn't even tell us that he's questionable. Then all of a sudden, yep, he's out. And I was in full tilt. I was like, this is fucked.
Yeah, you don't have that happen very often at all.
But anyway, good pick. I had him on my list.
Yeah, same. I think it was a really shrewd choice for running back. And running back to me this week, I felt was the hardest. So
yeah, exactly. Yep.
My first thing would be just talking about someone. This guy isn't coming off a bye. He has sort of trended towards closer to 50, so I just thought I'd bring him up to see if he's ruled in or out. Jordan Addison.
He's on my list.
44%. He went from 37 to 44.
Yeah. He was 37 about 4 hours ago too, so he might be on pace to not. And he hasn't been qualifying for weeks and weeks, and then all of a sudden he looked like he is. So that's why I wrote him down, but I was prepared to be shouted down to.
That's fine. I'm okay if it's not. I just thought I'd bring him up first.
I just had never seen him below 50 before, so I wrote him down. But if he's trending up so significantly, I'm pretty okay to let him go.
Yep, that's fine. All right. I think I'm still going to go to that.
I know who you're going to go at wide receiver if you go wide receiver.
I don't know if you are. This guy's at 9% right now.
Whoa.
Oh. Well, I don't know. I just listened to Buy Low, Sell High the other day, and I'm like, well, I know who he's going to take.
Do you know what was funny about that, though, is I didn't bring up that guy, actually. I didn't like his this week one. It would have been another one where you'd wait a week because he's playing the Chargers. I didn't have him down, actually, which is surprising given my mojo in that fucking segment. This is weird to take first. It is a bit of a flyer.
What are you doing?
You know what?
We've got him rattled, Brad. We've got him rattled.
I love it.
Juan Jennings.
Okay.
Well, I was not expecting that.
Yeah, I don't know. I've earmarked this guy before. I obviously had the injury before they went on bye. I just think without IU, the situation's just perfect for him. And against this Bucs team, they're 17th against wide receiver, but they're getting killed by quarterbacks. I just don't feel like there's a correlation there. I just don't like this Bucs secondary at all. And I just think Jennings could actually have an awesome game for this one. Look, it is a risk. He's technically still on the questionable side, but I saw the last report said he's come straight back in training off this bye. So, yeah, I'm actually got a fair bit of confidence in him this week. So I know Matty would have taken him because he's a Niner, and so I didn't have to, but I'm just happy to take him there.
I mean, I only wouldn't have taken him because, you assume Kittle's going to play and Devo's probably playing. So it's like...
Well, Devo's questionable himself for the ribs thing. So,
yeah.
Look, even if
coming off the bye, he'll play.
If it's those two, I still think he slots in as the next guy. I just don't think anyone's taken over. So, yeah, I'm fine with it.
Oh, there's a little bloke named McCockslap who's coming back too. He's just going to eat up volume. So I don't think they bring him back straight into a passing role.
like to me, if you're trying to ease McCaffrey back in a bit, I don't think you then all of a sudden go running routes. Like, I feel like probably running between the tackles as like their main running back was. Look, I could be wrong. Like, I'm taking a risk.
Yeah, I kind of think it'd be the other way. Why run him through the tackles if he's coming back from something harsh? Why not just put him out on the edges? So
I don't know. I just think that running routes is going to create more issues, but that's just me.
I think, I wouldn't be surprised if they use him like that ETN role this last week where they just kind of, ease him in.
Okay, well, I like that we've got Taylor picking someone he didn't necessarily need to take as early as he did, who's iffy as fuck, and who makes him feel squeamish. So, Brad, mission accomplished, mate.
take a win for the good guys.
This is why this guy's last in this fucking segment. Hopeless. Look at him. I'm trying to get you to bite, Taylor. Come on.
He's not having a bar of it, is he?
I'm locked in.
Okay. This is brilliant because I'm looking at these remaining positions that have no one taken them yet, and for me, there's a guy in each of them that I think you just lean on, right? So I'm going to go ahead and take Zach Ertz at tight end. He's not a walking 7 for 70 as I learned last week when he went 1 for 5, but he's also not, he's in a position here where he's now going to be on the road against a relatively stout defense, and I just haven't bought the McLaurin thing because I think it's hollow. There's all these things around his volume that aren't true that I think people perceive to be true, where Ertz has been turning up and he has a weird week last week. Okay, whatever, but I just think he just goes back to normal. He's 31% started. And he's pretty much, he and Jared Goff have been like the two staples of this fucking segment all year. So I feel pretty happy taking him. At quarterback, I'm going to go back and not take Jared Goff, even though he's the other guy who I could take that would annoy Taylor because Taylor loves Jared Goff in the segment. But I'm going to take Brock Purdy. He started in 9% of leagues. That number will increase, but I don't know that it'll get to 50. I mean, I'm looking down the list of guys this week, and if he gets over 50, I'll be super surprised because, man, I started looking down the list. I'm like, oh, well, I'd start him over him. That said, I had Brock Purdy as like quarterback 16 at the start of the year, so I legitimately didn't love him. But, I mean, it's difficult not to love him against Tampa Bay and at home.
You just took Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
Early into one.
Done.
Why? I'm so rattled.
Yeah. But, I mean, all the reasons why make sense, right?
Yeah, but you hate him. Like, it doesn't feel like it's your team. Like, I honestly feel like you've lost by taking your most hated player.
But I only taken him because every mathematical and logical thing about it says you take him. I'm putting my feelings aside, Taylor.
I love it.
I have him written down, but I'll be honest. Like, I feel like he's going over 50. To be honest, I'm fine believing it because he was well over 50 before he went on bye, and I can't imagine why getting CMC back all of a sudden would mean he wouldn't be. So
I'm happy to drop him if you think he's going to be over 50. I'm happy to drop him.
I'm pretty confident he will be.
Okay, consider him gone. I'm still going to stay at quarterback, and I'm going to take Stafford against Miami.
Yep, I don't mind that. Miami's weird, right? They pop up as something that says they're a bad matchup, but I still think it's because they had no Tua and they couldn't score themselves, and so no one could score. Like, no one needed to score a lot of points on them.
That's what I think. Yeah, I'm like, oh well, they score points now, and their defense is still not good.
I have so much Stafford. I was so involved in him last week. Like, he's obviously my Astro starter. It's like he was kind of like the Bo Nix of the week before, where I just somehow ended up with Stafford in like 5 weeks. So I even started him over Goff in one league because I just didn't like the matchup in Lambeau being outdoors. So it was a real funny one. But yeah, he's definitely on my list.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, look, it's also Miami being an East Coast team traveling all the way west. I think that those are never great. And in the confines of his own home, and with all his guys back, I know Puka was kind of a bit slow out of the gate last week again, but he's still on the field. And I just don't see any reason to dislike Stafford. So I'm going to take him and throw it back to you, Tay.
All right. Well, I know I don't have to take running back because
Brad's got Dowdle.
Got one. All right, I think I'm going to go Sam Darnold. I really like that matchup against the Jags, last against quarterback.
Now, I didn't have him on my list because I was pretty sure he was out of range.
Was he really? I didn't even write it. I didn't even look.
Let's see.
I'm going to double
here.
check. Maybe that was Baker who was right on 50.
65% started.
Wow. That's insane. There you go. All right.
And I mean, matchup, right?
All right, then. Well, I'll take Goff. Texans then.
It's so funny. After I just gave a shit about, I'm not going to take Goff because he's Taylor's boy. He's Taylor's boy.
Yeah, well,
Love
I basically had my list of Goff, Darnold, Stafford, and then I had Purdy, but like I said, I had a question mark and I didn't think he really fit. But yeah, so I guess
that's all I like about this segment.
He's indoors again. I think that Texans team is going to be able to throw the ball on the line, so I feel like there's a decent chance of it being a shootout. So yeah, I like Goff.
I love that. So you've got one Jennings and Jared Goff, which now for you, Brad, means because Stafford and Goff are gone, there is no pressure to take a quarterback at all.
Yeah.
And with a wide receiver tight end left, you can feel free to do whatever damage you want in both of those positions, knowing that we can't screw your quarterback at all.
Yeah, it's a nice spot to be in. To be honest with you, I wasn't expecting to be this luxurious. So
no, that's good. We've completely screwed Tay up. He's taken like a quarterback who doesn't throw passing touchdowns anymore and a wide receiver who might not play. Like we've just totally fucked him up.
I love it. I'm going with the guy who's really stepped it up this last couple of weeks, and mainly because somebody else has gotten hurt, so he's just gobbled up a lot of targets. I'm going with Mike Gesicki for Cincinnati because I'm sure he fits the bill, doesn't he, in terms of below 50?
Absolutely.
I love it.
Okay, yeah.
He's on my list. I've picked him up in a couple of leagues. Like I'm playing him over like a Ferguson, especially if Higgins is out. Because I picked him up in Astro and played two tight ends because I needed a flex because I knew Higgins was out, and he seems to step up in those situations. Like the splits of his targets and just route participation when Higgins is out is absurd compared to when Higgins is in. So
absolutely,
and to be honest, Eric Hall got a torn ACL, so like I feel like Gesicki's going to get more of the tight end snaps. Even if Higgins plays, I think Gesicki's not a bad play. Like he's literally the second tight end I had on my list, and I actually reckon I probably would pick him.
Yeah, I mean, and last week, granted, it was against the Raiders, but he had a great stat line.
Yeah.
So, and if of course, it's somewhat dependent on Higgins being out, but from what I've heard and understand, he's still going to sit out this week. So, I'm hoping that Gesicki just gobbles it up.
The Raiders have been congenitally unable to defend a tight end since. Probably John Madden was their coach. I reckon it was the last time they were able to defend a tight end. They've been we pick on them versus tight ends for the last 4 seasons, haven't we, Tate? We've pretty much gone, who's playing the Raiders? Who's playing the Cardinals? We can attack them against tight ends. And mate, even last week when it wasn't Gesicki, just Drew Sample, the other tight end, catches a touchdown. So it's a great play going these Cincinnati Bengals when they're against leaky defenses, and the Ravens are exactly the fucking same this year. They cannot stop the pass.
Yeah, because they can stop the run, so they're a pass funnel, like I've brought up before.
Yeah, like Denver, like Detroit, like Minnesota. So this year we've got a few strategies with who we pick there for passing, and that's just falls right into it. You've got a second pick here too. You can go ahead and take a wide receiver, Bradley.
That's exactly what I'm going to do. So
take a really good one. Please take a really good one to fuck Taylor up.
I love him. He came back with a vengeance last week. So I'm taking my guy Quentin Johnson.
He's a third one on my list.
Oh, there we go. So, I mean, it's not the best matchup. I'll admit that. The Tennessee defense is not the best, but I think the Chargers have just been playing so lights out. And Herbert we talked about it on the other show. Herbert's doing so good, and I think that streak's going to continue. And McConkey is drawing a lot of attention. So Johnson I think he's just really stepped up and he's found his groove. So I'm looking forward to a big game from him.
He is 29% owned, 10% started. But I love the pick. Oh my gosh, I love the pick. Especially after we're talking about how much we like Herbert for the rest of the season going forward now. Really, really nice. Tay, you're in this great position now where you don't need to take your tight end because Brad's got one, I've got one. Do your worst.
Yeah, I think I'm going to take Raheem Moist Turd. I think the Rams. I just think it's a far better matchup than he had last week. Which is weird because the Bills on paper were a good matchup in fantasy. It didn't, but I just don't trust it when they're going to a team that they get boat raced by normally, and like Buffalo, they're just sort of weird. I just, it's one of those ones where sometimes the fantasy stats I just don't trust, and I just thought last week I had him on my list. I didn't trust because I thought they'd be behind, and you'd see a lot of. Why am I not thinking of his name right now? The other running back,
Achane.
And it was true. And most of it actually went okay. He had a fumble, I think, and then he had a bunch of yards, which is okay. I think this Rams defense is beatable. They're 13th against running back, but I just think in general that defense just keeps getting injuries, and I think this is the kind of game the Rams will be in. The Dolphins will be in. I think there's a chance they could lead it because I don't trust the Rams defense at all. I could see this being a bit of a shootout too. So, yeah, I just think there's a chance for Mostert to get a touchdown in this one, and I think he gets enough volume.
This is going to be one of these ones where Stafford just passes the arse out of the ball too, which is kind of good because I think Miami will keep it a game. So it's good for Mostert. It's good for my Stafford share. Mate, knowing that I've got to take a wide receiver and a running back, and they're the two positions that are left, you guys have both got yours. I'm going to do something real fun here and take the rare running back tight end stack.
Oh, can I guess?
You go.
Prime, Youth, and Warren.
I'm going to take Elston Eckler.
Yeah. I've already taken yours. Sorry. I thought you were saying you were taking it now. I didn't even think about the fact you've already got Zach Ertz.
I'm just going with Ertz. I'm taking the passing volume that'll go to him. I'm then going to take the running volume that's going to go to Austin Eckler. It doesn't trend that Robinson, he may be back, but even if he is back, it's difficult to trust he's going to get a ton of volume. And Pittsburgh, they're sort of one of those defenses which you kind of, they're a bit balanced. They're not amazing against the run. They're not amazing against the pass. And even though it's on the road, Daniels does enough. Like having a mobile quarterback helps you yards per carry for your running back, which we already know. And that's been something that's been so well documented over time that even Alfred Morris, when he was next to RG3, was a 5-yard per carry guy. That's how much a mobile quarterback helps a plotter. So once you get a guy like Austin Eckler, who, he's on the older end of the spectrum, but he's still, sharp and nifty. And then Ertz with the passing volume. So I'm going there, and it's going to be a double at Pittsburgh for me. And then on the way back with my wide receiver, because you didn't take him, I'm just going to ask the question about Calvin Ridley at the Los Angeles Chargers. He's right near it. He was 46 at last check.
Yeah, I mean, he's under. I don't really see why. Like, he wasn't good enough last week to all of a sudden make people want to go over 50. And the matchup's not good at all against the Chargers, so I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
It's the 10 targets. That's all I'm going for. Is just like, well, I only need him for a week. I'm not marrying him. I'm just dating him for a week. Just going to buy him a few drinks and see what happens.
Whereas I'm marrying him because it's my byline.
Yeah. Yeah, we're just going for a fling around the dance floor and just see what sticks. I looked right at Brad and said, see what sticks, because I just wanted to see what his reaction was. It doesn't even make sense, but I'm like, he's going to make that innuendo. He's 100% going to make that innuendo.
I hate it. Sticky floors, yeah.
So Ridley, and they're playing, at Chargers. And now we go back to you, Tay, to wrap up with your tight end.
Give me the man that is positionless. I'll take Taysom Hill against the Falcons.
There we go. Yeah.
I always write this. I have brackets because it's like the Falcons are 24th against tight end, and then I always write brackets. I don't give a shit what the matchup is for tight end because it doesn't matter.
And then how are they against running backs, and how are they against quarterbacks?
It's like he plays everything. So I just feel there's always an opportunity for a touchdown for him. He's kind of like this guy that, any tight end can fucking go shit and score you one, which Taysom could do, but I don't feel like every tight end has the upside of Taysom. So
he could score you 22. You don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, the guy's unreal.
The ultimate upside player. We're going to come back to you now, Brad, for your quarterback. You got Rico Dowdle, Quentin Johnson, and Mike Gesicki in the rest of your spots. How do you complement that with a perfect garnish at quarterback?
Well, this one I tossed up back and forth, and I thought about going with a handcuff and Herbert, but I decided not to, and so I'm going for Old Man River, who's had a little bit of a resurgence. I'm taking Aaron Rodgers on this.
Oh, it's the second time he's come up.
We saw Benny Jones take him just 3 weeks ago.
Did you?
And I mean, he scored the most points of anyone on his team. He had a bit of a rough week, but he scored a bunch of points, 15, 16 points.
Okay.
But he's looking better, isn't he, all of a sudden?
He is. He's looking a lot better. So, I mean, he still is a shell of his old self. And I still think he's a little bit of a prick. But
always.
Exactly. But I'll take him because I think they are starting to find their groove offensively. This is a good matchup against Arizona, so I think they're going to be able to move the ball on them. So I'm expecting that if they can just iron out a couple red zone wrinkles, and you're seeing Devontae Adams just get more and more in sync with them, then it really could turn into a good game for them.
Pope's also a little bit Catholic.
A little.
Yep. Just a little.
Just a wee bit. Rodgers currently started in just 20% of leagues, owned in only 48. Like this, your squad here, you've got Dowdle is well owned, but only 27% started. Here's your high watermark. It goes then Rodgers 20, Gesicki 11, Quentin Johnson 10. Like you are hanging it out there, brother.
Yeah. When I win it, I can just even then go, look at that. I picked it with guys that are less than 30%.
I'm loving it. Taste team has got Goff at 41%, Mostert at 31%, Taysom Hill at 15%, Juwan Jennings at 9%. And then, I didn't even write down the percentages next to my guy. Stafford at 33, Eckler at around about the same, 37. I've got Ridley at 46 and Zach Ertz. He's my low water mark at 31. So I've gone some pretty safe floors, but not a lot of ceiling. Doesn't get much bigger ceilings than guys like Quentin Johnson and Taysom Hill. So you guys really leaning into let's just see if lightning strikes.
Yeah, pretty much.
Hey, I've got my lead. I don't need to do too much to dazzle, right?
I just can't wait for your downfall. It's going to be great.
Yeah, I feel like he said this last week. I just went and put more distance in, mate. No worries, mate. I'm a marathon runner. I'm not sprinting this sucker.
It's all about the journey, the process, and absolutely.
What's my highest score this year? Maybe 50. My lowest score is like 30. I'm just in a zone, man.
I know. I feel like you're going to be moonwalking backwards soon, MJ style.
Okay. Hey, Brad, I think you coasted through that with a degree of just comfort and familiarity that can only be done by a guy who's already won this segment on the show once over a period of a month. So between you and me, I feel like I'm feeling pretty confident. I think Tay's got the third best team this week.
Absolutely. Well, there's no question about it. We know he does. So it's just I just hope he bottles up those tears and sells them to poor children. And so, yeah.
You put up with a lot of shit from me, and that I try and triangulate our guest against you. But, mate, I'm looking forward to seeing how your team performs. You definitely have done that thing where all of a sudden you've been lapping people for years and years, and suddenly someone's just undone that they're a lap behind, and now you lean forward with the PlayStation controller. Being like, oh, mate.
The controller's out. I'm leaning forward. No one talk to me. It's just I'm in the zone.
I love it. You guys are
it's a lot like after a league, though. I'm on top for a minute, so I'm just going to spout shit. I'm just going to spout shit. That's my role here. It's going to be temporary, so I might as well enjoy the fuck out of it.
Get the lube out.
Fuck. On that note, you can find everything that's Aussie Gridiron Network related, including Brad. Brad with the GDAY Gridiron guys. They perform their magic every Saturday, wedged between, well, the show we've just done and the one we did on Friday that Brad was also a part of. And they do a whole bunch of great analysis of 4 key games for the week upcoming, and also do a whole bunch of analysis around the league and all the news. And then in the early part of the next week, there's a great big overreactions and G'day AI. I keep on going to say G'day AI because I don't know. It's just I find it hard to get that extra syllable out. I get tripped up on that. But you find all that plus everything that Manjot's doing with Pastry Press NFL YouTube. You can find that with his Aussie Gridiron Today, Manjot Night Football. All of this is through Linktree/Aussie Gridiron Network. Find everything we do there, and also the great merch store where you can find a Christian McCockslap shirt to celebrate his return. Fellas, we're going to get out of here. It's pretty late on a weekend night now as we get revved up for week 10. Brad, thank you again for making so much time for us. It's been great to have you on.
My pleasure. You guys are the gold standard here in Australia for this fantasy stuff. So I love it, and I appreciate you just having me on.
It's our pleasure. Pleasure. I've got this little trophy. I've got to send this to you because you won it last year, and it's been sitting on my studio table like I won it. And every time I look at it, I go, "It's a fake ID, man. You didn't win that." So I really need to rehome it. Tay, good luck with starts of the week. Good luck in all your leagues now that you've done a 13-0 week. Now that's the expectation, right?
Yeah, it's all downhill from here, mate. As I've brought up, it's I can't. If I'm 12-1 next week, it's going to be disappointing. So
yeah,
I'll set myself a real high standard. But just want to say thanks again to Brad, mate. You've come on and just brought absolute cold once again, and it's just been such a wonderful season having so many different awesome voices on. But Brad coming in again, tore us a new arsehole in the fantasy game at the end of the year, so we know he's got fantasy chops, but he brings more than that. He brings it to GDAY Gridiron, and he comes in here and, brings out some wisdom for us. So just thanks again for coming on, mate. It's been great.
Oh, thank you. My pleasure.
On that note, we're going to get out of here, and we'll catch you all on the other side of week 10 with our Friday show. And we're bringing back that Croc Hunter next week. Big Kev will be joining us. I can't wait for that one. In the meantime, good luck, fellas, and hooroo.
Welcome.
I love you guys.
This is the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show.
I know things didn't work out too well to start the week. We'll get to that later.
Since I've been picking up, I guess, but flavoured people, but it's Anais Smith.
Yeah, who says that's a problem?
Aussie?
My team's going to be fucking bulletproof.
Yeah, lad went bananas.
That should be a whole segment. Who's your favourite receiver that sounds like an accountant that's going to have 2 targets?
NFL?
You just tease. All you do is let me hang around the rim and like nothing.
I've lost my goddamn mind.
Fantasy.
The Jags are just, no offense, Matty, but they're just poo.
Or he's had Spencer Rattler as his quarterback. I mean, that's like having herpes.
This is the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show.
I've already hit the first marker I need, and it's basically vomit. I want vomit.
I hate it. Sticky floors, yeah.